And obviously at the far end, fire exits are at both ends and behind the restaurant as well. Actually, I need to be this side. So now, moving to our first demonstration of the day. The Blank Canvas is the title. Nice start for the day. What to look for when selecting your new retrained racehorse partner. Should be on. I'll check it in a minute. Informative discussion about the racehorse as an athlete and its transition to a new career. Using live racehorses with top racehorse trainer Brian Smart, based in North Yorkshire, I believe, come a long way. Currently training, has had wins with Tangerine Trees, Monsieur Bond, Helvin and Moviesta. Fantastic to have such high quality here. Also, with Brian, we have Jenny Hall, Chief Veterinary Officer for the British Horse Association. And been doing that since 2011, I believe. Quite a while now. And also Head of Welfare for retraining of racehorses. Now I'm going to hand you over in just a second to Brian and Jenny. I just need to make sure that Brian is able to speak on his mic. But Jenny, you can fill in a little bit while I sort out the mic for Brian.
Dino, thank you for that introduction, and I would like to also say welcome and thank you very much all for being here with us at Hartbury. My name's Jenny Hall and I am now Head of Welfare for retraining of racehorses, unlike when I spoke to the showcase last time. And the first thing I'm going to do is say thank you very much to our trainer here, Adrian Wintle, who has very kindly brought these two horses along this morning. And I'm going to ask Adrian, first of all, to give us an introduction about the two of them, to tell us their age and what they've been doing in their racing career so far. These two are both horses currently in training.
Hi everyone, yes. In front we have a horse called Marju's Quest. He's 9 years old. He actually only ran on Monday at Wolverhampton. He's a winner of 9 races. And placed several times. He's been a really good horse, and as you can see, they're being quite well behaved, which is that's not the plan, but you know, they are in training, they're on high protein food, so they should be quite revved up really, but they're actually taking this better than I expected. So Marju's Quest, he ran on Monday. Been a bit cheeky really, because I bought him here today because myself and the owners have decided at 9 he's starting to get a bit slower in his old age, and he's actually looking for a new owner, and possibly he's been a bit of a yard pet, so we're looking to another job out of training. So if anyone's interested, he's actually for sale. So as you can see, he's got nice paces. So the second horse is a horse called Is Love Alive. He's 10 years old. He actually runs at Taunton on Thursday in a chase. So this is going to spark him up a bit and give him a bit of, as they get older, so it's doing something different like this actually is good for them and gives them a bit of sort of spring in their step. So he's running on Thursday at Taunton. He's quite famous that actually in his first run he beat Black Lion, who ended up quite a famous Grand National horse. He beat him in a point-to-point. He's not really gone on to be, that was his famous day really. He did win Boxing Day last year, but and hopefully he'll run well on Thursday. So yeah, there you go.
Great, well thank you Adrian, thanks for that introduction, and I don't know if you want to just walk for a minute, girls, while we start to talk about them. You will already, I'm sure, have noticed what physically different types these two horses are. I mean, obviously they are in full training, so they are still, you know, they look fit, so they're slim, as you'd expect fit athletes to be. But Brian, are you ready? Brian is a trainer who has trained for a long time, but has also worked a lot with horses after their first careers have completed, and has been very successful with Vicky with Retrained Racehorses. So do you want to talk about the blank canvas, our title?
Yeah, good morning everybody. I mean, basically, these horses are not a blank canvas. They've been painted on before, so that what they've learned is to gallop. They don't stand very well, so don't think you're going to get one and it's going to stand and let you get on it, and things like that. They're used to people walking up sides them and just legging them on as they go. So basically, you've not got a blank canvas. You've got to go back to basics. And the basics are that we all taught at the beginning of just handling your horse, teaching it to stand and things like that. But as a trainer, my job as a flat trainer is really to get the best out of it in its first 4 years. So what I have to do is I'm just breaking yearlings now, which are 1 year olds as you call them, and we've got them backed and ridden, and we're teaching them to canter up sides and go forward. They get their basic long reining and driving, but they're taught to be cantered forward. So all these racehorses are ready to go when we need them. So you are not getting a blank canvas, you're getting one that's painted on already. So you've got to go back to the basics. I mean, this horse in front of us now, the chestnut horse, lovely horse, but you can see his outline. He's ready to burst, and that's what we've got to do. I mean, he's been very good, but if this jockey went and sat up its neck and shortened its reins, he'd be ready to go. He'd just canter off. That's what they're taught to do, is jump off. As soon as they get to the gallop, the lad will change his hands, sit on one rein, and off they go. And then you talk them down to your speed. This little horse ran on the flat. He'd be ready to go, put in the stalls open, he's gone. So you've got to remember that when you take these horses on. I mean, basically, it's back to square one, and that's where you need to be with them. But as you can see, they're a different outline. You have to build them up. They have a different regime on feeding, so you have to look what suits them. But as a racehorse trainer, I have to get the best out of them, and it's all about speed on the flat, and that's what we do, and we have to work with that. Is there anything you'd like to add, Jen?
Yes, I think Brian has alluded to the fact that, as we'd expect, racehorse, being a racehorse, that is a very precise skill set. So if you're a national hunt horse and you're jumping hurdles or fences, then yes, your skill set will be broader than the flat horses, but it is still quite narrow. It's very focused and it's very specialised. And I think one thing that Brian mentioned was, where do you source your horse from that you're going to take on and consider for a new career? Obviously, one option is directly from a trainer, and different trainers have, they have different skill sets as well. So some of them have more knowledge of the non-racing equestrian centre. So we'll have a clearer understanding of what the different options are and how well fitted an individual horse will be for different disciplines. So once you've decided what it is you would like to do, what area you are interested in, then you either may wish to reach out to trainers in your area, or the other option is to look with a retraining provider. And there is a reasonable, there's quite a developed network of retrainers in Britain now, because RoR has been going as long as it has, and we've got a much more established community. So then there is a network of people that you can approach with the details of what you're looking for to find the right horse. Because, I mean, obviously for different fields, we'll need horses of a different size to begin with. Quite a lot of former racehorses are very successful in the world of polo, but obviously if the racehorse that needs a new career is a 16-3 national hunt horse, polo might not be the most likely career for that horse.
You've got them.
I was going to say,
because I wanted you to see how they set off. The chestnut horse didn't set off on the right leg. I know the girl was trying to get him on the right leg, but that is what racehorses are. They jump off straight into the bridle and they go. I mean, they get very strong, but you can talk them down. What's nice about these two horses, they're quite well schooled. I like the way they go. They've both got their heads in the right place, good length of rein on them, and they settle into their work. But with a racehorse, it is all about technique. None of us are stronger than any horse, but it is about technique. And these two girls got a lovely pair of hands on them, they've dropped their heads, and the horses are settling into a rhythm. So that's what we look for when we're training them. We like to keep them nice and balanced, and then when you ask them to quicken up, you shorten your rein rather than lengthen it. You shorten your rein, pick it up, and start to push it along, and you lengthen it. A racehorse will gallop lower than it will canter, because you're lengthening it out. And this is what you've got to remember when you start to retrain a horse, is you've got to bring it back up and up in front to do the basic disciplines. And these horses, they're going in a nice outline, so these two would be quite all right to have, I think.
Well, I think the other thing is to bear in mind is that they are in here together. And racehorses, they're really their whole life. They don't really do things in isolation. If you think about it, when you go racing, they walk round the pre-parade ring together. So once they're, you know, they are housed and stabled individually, obviously, but then before the race, they walk around together, they get tacked up individually, but they then go round the paddock together, and they go down to the start, whether it's on the flat or over fences, they go down to the start together, and they race together. So racehorses are absolutely, their whole life, pretty much used to doing things in groups, and that is one of the first major adjustments to bear in mind, that if you're taking a horse, you know, everyone's riding leisure horses, we all want to do things with our one horse, don't we? If we want to take it off to a competition or take it off for a ride or to meet our friends, it will be doing that as an individual. And that may well be a big culture shock for a previous, you know, a former racehorse. And also physically, my role, I'm head of welfare, but I am a qualified veterinary surgeon. A long time ago now, I qualified from the University of Liverpool in 1985, and my veterinary career was predominantly in private practice, working with racehorses. Before I did work for Team GB as team vet to our event horses, but also I worked for the British Horse Racing Authority as Chief Veterinary Officer, so I've seen this from all perspectives. And the veterinary aspect of these rehomed horses, when you're a racehorse, it is a very intense physical career. It's like being, you know, professional footballer, professional rugby player, whatever kind of professional sport we're talking about. We know how intense and how demanding all of those sports are. So while when you rehome a horse, trainers aren't going to rehome horses that have chronic injuries. Obviously, that's not a practical way forward. But even horses like these horses, they will have been working very hard in a very limited training regime. You know, they don't really cross-train. So their muscle development, all their muscle memory, will be very focused in one direction. So, you know, they will end up with various bits of, you know, I don't know who's run a marathon or done triathlons and things like that. You know, inevitably, when you've worked very hard, there is going to need to be some time for just general recovery and getting back to being in a situation where you can start looking at something else and looking at a different physical activity. So I think often it is wise to factor in some kind of break after they finish their active racing career. So if you're going to, as Adrian said, with the smaller horse that is now ready to retire, he's starting to get a little bit slower, again, as the footballers do. You know, just giving him a period of time where he's maybe just going out in the field every day, getting used to that different lifestyle and different environment that he lives in, that's going to help him physically to get over any, any stiffness, soreness, anything that he's got from having basically done the same activity year in, year out. Brian, do you want to comment on that? What your approach is? Do you let horses down and do different work with them as part of their transition to their next job?
Well, what I try to do is, if we're going to rehome the horse from our yard, I take it myself and I do a little bit of long reining with him. And I like to drive them rather than lunge them. And I try to bring them back to the basics of walk, trot and canter on a lunge, not on a lunge, on reins, where you've got 2 reins, and you can teach them. And so anything that we do will always have gone through that basis, but we let them down, we change their feed straight away from high energy, wanting to get them to run as fast as they can, to a nice sort of not too hot food that he just settle and chill. Try and turn him out in a pen so he'll relax. But basically what we do is we try to take him back to basics. So anything you've done from us, you will have horses that's been driven round in circles. They'll walk, trot and canter, and basically try and not get them, we can't get them to stand to get on, but get them a little bit more relaxed about get on and off. Because don't forget, when they go out to exercise, there'll be one behind the other. If they've been warmed up on a walker, they come off the walker, they walk into the yard, they're legged on and they're straight out. So to teach these horses just a little bit more to let themselves down and let you get on them quietly, because I think a lot of people think they're going to stand at a block and just get on. They'll get on the block rather than you. Yeah,
that's a really good point. You forget that, pretty much you're legged up, aren't you, when you ride out on one of these horses, and they're not used to waiting. They come out of the stable, and it's not that they wouldn't wait, it's just something that they've never been asked to do. So for them, they come out of the stable, they get legged up, so they really don't stand still at all, and then follow the leader, and they go and walk around wherever it is that they're used to waiting before they go out. And they know what they're going to do. So they are absolutely, they know the routine. The racehorse training is very much a structured, organised routine activity.
Basically, when they come out the yard, the trainer will tell the lads what they're going to do, whether they're going to have a steady canter first to warm up, or they're going to go out and school if they're jumpers, whether they're going to have a trot for the day or whatever. The life is structured. The racehorse's life is structured, and let me tell you, they do like a routine. So you're breaking that routine for a start. So you have to get them in your routine. They come out. If I say to my lads, right, you two are working, they'll know what to do. They set off steady, get up sides, 2 horses either side. I'll explain that, is where they go together in a pair, and they'll work together and extend, and the best one wins and the other one doesn't, so you know how well they've worked. So that point of view is that's what they're ready to do. So you've got to get them to get into your routine, but you've got to be very, very relaxed with them, because they won't know how to do it and they won't pick it up straight away. But I think from the point of view, I think a lot of people get these horses and they think they're going to do the standing around and stuff, and I think that's your basic...
And we can see with these 2 horses, they've both got really lovely athletic paces. They're very athletic horses, lots of energy.
Dare we bring them in?
And that's
bring them in, ask them to stand.
And they're bright. They're in. The one thing I think with thoroughbreds is they are very bright, intelligent horses. But that does mean, they can be quite, they can very easily get a bit over energetic and find situations, but I think we're going to ask them to stand still here. I know the next demonstration you're going to learn and show more about long reining and working horses from the ground. And nowadays, traditionally, all racehorses would have been lunged, driven in hand, and would understand what you meant. Nowadays, because of some of the approaches that are used with breaking them in initially, they won't necessarily all have had a completely thorough grounding in that. I think there's, when Monty Roberts came and showed us all how to do things, he kind of, changed the landscape a little bit. So a lot of horses will remember. They will have done it in their youth, but they won't necessarily all. So some of them really won't understand what you're on about. Here, are they going to stand
Just
still?
looking at this chestnut horse here, you can see he's ready to run next week. He's ready to go. He doesn't want to stand around. His head's up. Any slight movement, he'd be away. Even though he's just half looking, he's chewing a little bit, but you can see he's ready to go. Can we have a bet on this next week?
And I'm going to just quickly, because we're about coming to the end of our time now, but I'm sure you will hear, one of the things I do want to mention is the fact that, you know, it's very fashionable and very common at the moment to talk about all horses, not just ex-racehorses, but all horses having issues with kissing spines and back problems. And while I wouldn't for a minute pretend they're not very prevalent in thoroughbred horses, that is part of the fact that they're not a blank canvas, but it doesn't mean that it completely precludes them being able to do another career very successfully. Same with everything and with all people. You can have something that might look awful on the x-rays, and actually that doesn't bother the horse at all. And then other horses, there'll be a minor issue, and that's what they find a problem. But, you know, I suppose my plea is not to consider it a one-dimensional issue. And we've got a session later on. If anyone has questions and wants to talk about some of those things in more detail, I'm very happy to do that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a bit louder than Jenny, obviously. What a fantastic way to start off our show here today. And Adrian, will the horses be okay with a small round of applause?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a round of applause.
Look out.
Well, a huge thank you there to Brian Smart, Jenny Hull, and our trainer bringing the horses along, Adrian Wintle. Now, Brian and Jenny, as Jenny mentioned, are not off duty yet. They will be hosting the myth-busting about the life of former racehorses. That will take place in the wonderfully named Ask the Expert Lounge. You can find that through the restaurant. Do go along and see them. They'll be there for 20 minutes.
If you want to leave him and you want a job, come and see me.
You've got to remind Brian he's still got the mic on, actually, as he wanders off. So discussing common issues, possible injuries gained through and during the racing career with industry experts. As I said, we've got Brian Smart and Jenny Hull. They'll be up in the Experts Lounge there just beyond the restaurant.